Hey everybody, how's it going today? I'm bringing you the first guide of our VGC 20 season, and this is the Gardevoir team that we used on the channel. It's the second team we used, so I'm going to go into a little detail about the team, just kind of tell you guys what some of the sets do, kind of the overall comp of the team, or composition of the team, and then also a couple changes I would make to it going further, because it's definitely not perfect, and no team really is perfect. And you know, as the metagames evolves, teams probably should evolve as well. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So the first Pokemon, which was kind of the Pokemon I wanted to start with, was Gardevoir. And as I was working with Gardevoir, typically Scarf might be a more common set, but I wanted to run like a Trick Room set, kind of like what I did in 2018 with Trick Room Mega Gardevoir. Granted, we don't get the Mega evolution, which is a significant hindrance on its power, but nonetheless, I wanted to go for it anyways. So this set, and originally its defense and HP EVs were meant to live a non-Life Orb Iron Head from Excadrill, but I ended up going with Berry anyways, so it's kind of just some general bulk, so it could use a little more offense. The speed just allows it to outspeed Dragapult under Tailwind, or if it's paralyzed. So it could be played around with this more. The item is still up in the air as well, but Psychic, Moonblast, Trick Room, Protect, pretty much what the four moves I wanted to go with for sure. You could maybe play around with something like Dazzling Gleam over Moonblast or Psyshock instead of Psychic, but this seemed like the best and most straightforward way to go with it. So that would be the Gardevoir, and the special attack EVs is just what was left over. It also gave it that extra point in special attack by hitting 165 in its overall stats. So, and the ability is chosen was Trace, because Telepathy wasn't very useful, Synchronize isn't always useful, and you can trace some pretty cool abilities that can be pretty helpful. Sometimes it may not be always the best thing to trace some abilities, but so sometimes inconsistent, but I think the most useful ability for Gardevoir. Okay, moving forward, we have Snorlax. So this was the next piece, kind of being inspired by my 2018 GardeLax team that I was using. And so Snorlax is a great abuser of Trick Room, especially on a team that isn't like super dedicated to Trick Room. It's just also Snorlax is a bulky Pokemon that can just tank hits and do pretty decent, consistent damage for the most part. This set did change its moveset at least quite a bit. It started off as an Impish Nature with the Impish Nature with the Papa Berry and Belly Drum, and originally I had Recycle over Heat Crash and I had Double Edge over Facade. But I instead decided to switch to Facade because a lot of times I'd just be Dynamaxing Snorlax anyways, and Burn is really common. Like Will-O-Wisp is really common in this format. So using Facade is kind of the better option in my opinion right now because of that reason. And then I changed to Heat Crash because I really wanted to try Heat Crash out to deal with Corviknight, and I really wanted another way to hit Corviknight on the team. So the attack EVs actually allows Snorlax to 2-hit KO majority of the time the 252 HP Corviknight without boosting at all, or without being intimidated. So I ended up taking a little bit of HP out and putting some special defense and attack into it. Special defense kind of made up for a little bit of the loss of special bulk, but max defense, because its defense stat is so low and you want Snorlax to take physical hits and just hits in general as well as possible. And then I don't opt to run min speed because I want Snorlax to outspeed some of these other slower Pokemon that are designed for Trick Room, or like minimum speed Pokemon that typically Snorlax wouldn't outspeed. But because they're min speed, because like I said, the team's not dedicated to Trick Room, it's just a mode and a control move, and Snorlax is a good Pokemon to take advantage of it. But Snorlax, I've found, especially if I don't run a min speed nature, can actually work in and out of Trick Room really well, especially if you're playing opposing Trick Room. So yeah, and that would be the Snorlax. It's hard to get the coverage right on Snorlax. It kind of just depends on the team, because there's Darkest Lariat's another good option on Snorlax, but I like this. Curselax could be fun to try too, but usually I'm always a big fan of Belly Drum, just because like if you ever get a situation where you can just set up a big Belly Drum and go off, it's great. It's also great to Dynamax as well. Even if I didn't set up Belly Drum, Dynamaxing Snorlax can be really useful just because it tanks hits so well and gets a big power buff in its moves. So yeah, And a couple times, actually, the Max Strike was really helpful in speed control issues when I wasn't Dynamaxing, or when I wasn't belly drumming or going for Trick Room. So the next Pokemon is Arcanine. This is just a really solid Pokemon overall because of its pretty good base stats, good typing, and just pure fire type, good ability. It's a really solid Pokemon. And so this was meant to be very similar to an Arcanine I used at Worlds in 2017, where I ran an Adamant Nature with only 4 attack because I just get a more like overall stats out of that, and then just max HP and an HP stat divisible by 4 for the Aguav Berry. Put 4 into defense. I made it outspeed, I think it was Adamant Bisharp specifically, to just like be able to outspeed it and Flare Blitz it. And the rest I just dumped into special defense. So Flare Blitz, Extreme Speed, Snarl, Protect, pretty straightforward. Extreme Speed just give it a good way to pick off weakened Pokemon to make up for its lower speed. Flare Blitz is just probably the best stab option on Arcanine, and it cannot help proc the berry by doing the recoil damage. And then Snarl, of course, really good leads against Trick Room or Togekiss, just to lower that special attack, just to control the game a little better. So Arcanine, pretty straightforward Pokemon. Like I said, really good bulk support, good Intimidate support. I love it. I'm a big fan of Arcanine. Next, another good Pokemon to pair up with Arcanine specifically is Rotom-Wash. They form a pretty solid like defensive core together with their typing. Other than like Mold Breaker, Excadrill, which can be a little problematic. But so Rotom here is more on the physical side, but it's pretty balanced overall. I gave it enough HP and defense EVs with the Bold Nature just to live a Mold Breaker, Excadrill's high horsepower. So that's kind of useful. And then it can try and burn it or Hydro Pump it. And, Thunderbolt, just a solid stab move on Rotom. Hydro Pump, of course, you kind of want to run that. It's your only water option and sucks when it misses. Will-O-Wisp to burn the physical attackers, and because I have Will-O-Wisp on Rotom, that's kind of why I decided not to run Will-O-Wisp on Arcanine. The final move was up in the air. It started with Light Screen, and I ended up running Ally Switch, which I found to be pretty useful because it's so bulky. It feels like Protect's not really helpful on Rotom, but Ally Switch is a really good move for digging you out of like really deep holes, and definitely utilize that to my advantage in the past, to where I'm in a bad situation where if I get this Ally Switch off and they fall for it, it could put me back in the game, and I think that's the best way to use Ally Switch. Not a good move to rely on all the time. Like there was a couple times where I would like be cheeky and use it to set up the Trick Room, but it's one of those things that once you reveal it, you start creating mind games, not for your opponent but for yourself. So I think it's a good move to use sparingly and to save it until you get into a pickle, and it's a great move to get you out of that your opponent may not suspect. So yeah, so that was the choice for Ally Switch, especially with how slow the team is. Ally Switch could be really helpful because a lot of times I'm moving last and needed to avoid a particular hit on a Pokemon. So next was Grimmsnarl. This originally was a different Pokemon. I actually don't remember what I was using, but I switched to Grimmsnarl because it was a Pokemon I wanted to try out. Oh yeah, this was Scrafty originally because it was going to be like another Intimidate support and Fake Out support. But I just wanted to try out Grimmsnarl, and I liked the idea of setting up screens for Snorlax because Snorlax could, then just tank hits so well, get that Billy Drum up. This added speed control to the team because at the time the only speed control I had was Trick Room, which wasn't very good. And I definitely wanted a Dark type because just to deal with the Ghost types, like specifically Dragapult. But still really nice. And then of course dual screens with that Light Clay is just really good in general because just upping the bulk of the team, even though the team's already as bulky as it is, just made it even harder to knock out, which did have its downside, but which I'll get more into in a little bit. And then Foul Play I think is just a good move on Grimmsnarl because it lets it hit certain Pokemon really hard, and there's a lot of physical attackers, so like something like Excadrill takes a lot of damage from Foul Play. Help against opposing Snorlax if they belly drum, you can take advantage of that. The spread was meant to, if I recall correctly, survive a max Steel Spike from Excadrill with the Reflect up. I don't think it survived the Life Orb, but yeah, that was kind of the main idea of the spread. Pretty generic in my mind, nothing like too crazy, but just a lot of general bulk to take hits and spread Thunder Wave and set up the screens and all that. So good lead Pokemon. Sometimes I would just lead Snorlax, Grimmsnarl, set up whatever screen I need, Belly Drum, and then just start going off with Snorlax. Like if they didn't have great answers to it, it just made it really difficult, especially once Snorlax Dynamaxed and had the screens up. That thing was just going up. It was going to do a lot of damage to the opposing team. So as the game went on, more Brick Break started showing up, and that kind of became annoying, but isn't surprising because Screens Grimmsnarl is a really good Pokemon. So yeah, and last but definitely not least is Corviknight. Originally this was Dragapult. I was using just like a fast special Dragapult because I was noticing, especially like Sand and Excadrill, Mold Breaker Excadrill specifically, becoming quite an issue, and I was just like thinking, what do I use? And Corviknight came to mind. It was another bulky Pokemon. Steel type on the team would have been really useful, not offensively, but more defensively. And Corviknight defensively, really good typing, really good ability. So I slapped on the Figgy Berry and I replaced Iron Head with Body Press. And I also liked Corviknight because it then gave more speed control. And once I had Grimmsnarl and Corviknight on the team, I was really satisfied with how it was coming together, because now I had a lot of speed control options, which is what I really like on the teams, like a lot of control. And Corviknight then really helped against Excadrill because it would 2-hit KO Excadrill with Body Press, since if those that don't know, Body Press utilizes the defense stat instead of the attack stat for damage calculation, which is, I think, really neat. And I think Body Press is a really cool move to explore more on other Pokemon. And I've seen things like Iron Defense Corviknight or Bulk Up Corviknight that can take advantage of it. So something I actually would change on Corviknight, if I were to keep using it, I might switch Figgy Berry to Key Berry. So that way when it gets hit with a physical attack, it boosts its defense. So now it's taking the physical hits better, and it's putting pressure, like more pressure on with Body Press against other Pokemon. And then Brave Bird is just a really good stab move on Corviknight that, it's a base 120 attack flying move. And then Roost just allowed Corviknight to really hang around. In fact, there were some games where I just had Corviknight out and it just sat there all game, just kept roosting and then doing chip damage, setting up Tailwind for the team. I found Corviknight to be a really good addition to this team, and I think that's a Pokemon for sure that belongs with what I'm trying to go with on the team. So, but yeah, I think the Key Berry would be kind of neat. I don't think I'd run Bulk Up or Iron Defense, and I don't really think I need Iron Head because Body Press does what Iron Head kind of needs to do, and then Body Press really threatens something like Tyranitar quite a bit. So, and there's also a potential Dynamax Pokemon with the Max Airstreams if it needs to. So yeah, so that's the team. And then, so like I said, as the metagame evolves, changes need to happen, and also as you play with the team, you really start to notice like what could be better, because like I said, no team is perfect. So there's a few changes I think I might try out on my own, and I want to let you guys be able to try it out as well. So the first thing I noticed is the team, it's super bulky and really hard to get. It has stuff that can just stay on the field for a long time, which I think is amazing. The problem, however, is it doesn't really have any great real immediate offense going on, and it's, like I said, super slow, that a lot of Pokemon just outspeed it, and that can cause problems like crits or like status moves. If you saw there's a couple episodes where we played against Butterfree, and literally nothing on my team was faster than Butterfree. And so my only way to deal with like them just sleep powdering my Pokemon is I had to Dynamax Gardevoir, Thunder Wave Butterfree, and then had to then the Max Starfall just to prevent sleep, which really sucks because if they didn't go for Sleep Powder, it was kind of useless. But it just sucks I have to like dedicate so much just to stop Sleep Powder. In fact, one time I did that, and then the next turn I had to switch out Gardevoir, so I kind of wasted my Dynamax because they didn't even go for the Sleep Powder. So speed, the team needs some speed for sure. And then I think Follow Me support would be better than for something like screens, because the team's already as bulky as it is, doesn't quite need the screens. Thunder Wave is really nice, But I'd rather just add some more speed, and now with Corviknight having Tailwind, that makes up for it. So having both Tailwind and Trick Room is great, as well as the ability to Dynamax and go for like Max Airstream if need be. So I have here some changes that you guys could look into that I'm going to try out myself. So first I would change Rotom to Hydreigon, still a Levitate Pokemon, a much faster Pokemon with that base 98 speed, which is actually really good in the format we have right now. And then it's a Dark type and a Dragon type, which is actually really useful, I was thinking, for the team, because having that Dark type to deal with Ghost types is really good. And being a Dragon type kind of helps form that Fairy Steel Dragon core with Corviknight and Gardevoir. And it gets some good coverage moves in like Earth Power and Flamethrower, and just I have to like kind of mess around with it. Probably just run a Life Orb set, a really good Dynamax Pokemon, because this team was definitely lacking good Dynamax Pokemon other than Snorlax, and then everything else could Dynamax except for like Grimmsnarl if it needed to. So I think Hydreigon would be a really cool Pokemon to try out next, and I would recommend you guys try that out, because Rotom is good, but it's a Pokemon that is just hit or miss for me sometimes. I really like Rotom's typing and its moves, but it can miss. It's just like sits there, and it's a love-hate relationship with Rotom and myself. So I want to try out something more offensive like Hydreigon, which I think would be a cool addition to the team. Next, I would change the support Pokemon of Grimmsnarl to something like Indeedee. I was even thinking about Togekiss or Whimsicott, but I like the idea of Indeedee because it's a follow me user, which is really nice. Setting up Psychic Terrain is also kind of cool, because dealing blocks things like Fake Out, Prankster Whimsicott, going for Fake Tears. It sets up Psychic Terrain for Gardevoir Psychics to do a lot more damage, so it adds a little more offense that way. Or if I really want to get Trick Room up, I can just lead Indeedee Gardevoir, get Trick Room up, and then if Indeedee gets knocked out, then I'm bringing in my Snorlax and it can start setting up, or something like that. So I think that's where Indeedee could be really neat. And it gets some other cool moves like Helping Hand. It does get Fake Out, but obviously if you're setting up Psychic Terrain, not super useful. But it is a Pokemon I think I need to play around with more. And it's got a cool bunch of items it could utilize as well. So next I would change Arcanine's set. If I'm losing Rotom, the Citrus Berry is now available to be used, and I'd rather use a fast Arcanine with Citrus Berry. So I'd switch to another Arcanine set that I have where it's almost max speed. It outspeeds base 90s. Something like Lucario, for instance, has almost max HP. It has the Citrus Berry instead, and then a little bit of attack. So it's meant to just be like kind of a fast support. Does pretty solid damage with Flare Blitz still, but Snarl and Will-O-Wisp was the big thing, especially something like Mold Breaker, Excadrill. It can just outspeed it, Will-O-Wisp it. So that's what I do with Arcanine. Adds more speed. So between Arcanine and Hydreigon, that helps, as well as having Tailwind on Corviknight. And like I said, I'd probably change Corviknight into a Key Berry set to try to see what that would be like for it. And then finally, obviously with the Season 2 rankings now coming out, I would absolutely change Snorlax to Gigantamax Snorlax, especially because I'm not even running Recycle. But if you Gigantamax it, now you have Recycle, like a 50% chance to recycle your berry after you Belly Drum or you take a hit or something. With its max, it's like, I think it's G-Max Replenish or something like that. It's really cool. It's a 130 damage normal type move, I think, but it has a 50% chance to recover the barrier item. I can't remember if it's just barrier item, but either way, to get your berry back. That's really kind of cool. So it gives even more reason to run 3 coverage moves, which I think I'd stick with High Horsepower and Heat Crash. And here is the rental team for the updated version of the changes that I suggested in the last slide. So you guys feel free to try this out with the team ID there. And this is a team meant for Season 2 because that is a Gigantamax Snorlax. And then, the Arcanine's faster, and you can see the Pokemon changes with what I think would work. But yeah, this is just the initial team updated that I think is worth trying out. And if you guys want to try it out, go for it. I will be trying it out myself and making changes myself. And if you guys find anything that you like, feel free to share it or just kind of make your own thing and go with it. So, alright guys, that'll be it for this report and guide. I hope you enjoyed it. I will keep trying to do more of these. Expect another one tomorrow for the next team that was used. And yeah, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed it and love hearing from you. All right, have a great one. See ya.